Hello, and welcome to Remembering Together, the LMJ's podcast. I'm your host, Matt Harold. Each month, we explore the many ways Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia touch our lives, from personal stories of families affected by this disease to the ongoing efforts to find a cure. Join us as we raise awareness, share support, and learn together about the impact of Alzheimer's on nearly 7 million people worldwide. Let's remember together and work toward a future where no one faces this disease alone. Welcome to Remembering Together, the LMJ's Lost Souls podcast. We have made it to episode number 17, and as we get more episodes in, the more I realize, the less I know. For those of you who don't know, I do love to talk about myself, so let me introduce myself. My name is Matt Harold, and I'm the Vice President of LMJ's Lost Souls Alzheimer's Fund. Today with me in the podcast studio is someone who has gone from stock trading to preserving family memories, who is an unbelievable supporter of the community and does so much. Today with me is John Doherty, owner and founder of the Family Album Company. John, thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Matt. Great to be here.
John, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself to our audience. Tell us about yourself and our listeners, a little bit about you.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Like you said, I started, my first career was down in the trading floors in Chicago. And then as I left that business, I was looking for something to do, and I've always been a history buff. But something happened in 1999 where I lost my mother, and I was relatively young. My kids were very young, and I knew they weren't going to know who Grandma was unless I did something. So I went out on my own, and back then on the internet, it wasn't what it is today, and I tried figuring it out. I thought I had figured it out, and a few years later, that external drive went up in smoke, and I lost everything. But I didn't throw anything out, so I just had to redo everything in the proper way, and I wanted to bring that to people. I didn't want others to have to go through what I went through, and so that's how I started my business, and I've been touching many lives ever since, preserving and protecting family memories, both for now and for generations to come.
Wow. No, it's always many people who've been in here now that when I talk to, it's the story of how their business or what their life, where it drives them is usually an experience, a family experience, is oftentimes where that comes from there. So tell us about your family, if you would. I know you mentioned some kids.
Oh, yeah. My wife and I built our house in Palatine in 1995. We have 3 kids, 2 daughters who are married, and we're expecting our 4th grandson in July this year. So we'll have
Does that mean you have 3 boys already?
3 boys already,
wow.
And we'll have 4 grandsons under the age of 26 months. So we got a lot of fun ahead of us.
Organized chaos.
Yes.
Here we come. Wow.
And my son is single still, living in Lakeview East, I guess they call it.
Okay.
Living a dream downtown by the beach. So
well, that's it. Very good.
Yeah.
No. And if you want to kind of get into this a little bit, I know we've talked a little bit about the story, but how did the Family Album Company come to be?
Well, I was working at a friend of mine's agency where we were doing some really big projects, like Billy Graham, the Wrigley Family, the Art Institute. And I really thought the consumer needed this. And I decided to go out on my own and start. And I thought everyone has family albums, photo albums laying around. It was a great name for a business. And so I struck out on my own. And I've always has kind of run my own businesses. And I really felt I had found my passion and where I needed to do to give back to society, which is what I'm always trying to do.
So you mentioned the business or the company you worked for before, so I got to ask, since you threw out some names, confidentiality, hopefully out the window, who's the coolest person, family, business that you got to?
I think it would have to be, although he had passed away before we did it, was the Billy Graham Evangelical Association.
Okay.
That was amazing. That was 126 terabytes of negatives that we turned positive, and it's just remarkable history of the 20th century.
Wow. Okay. All right. So when it comes to what you do from a business side, there's obviously a connection to what we experience on our side, on the nonprofit side. So if you kind of want to talk about why it is that you do what you do, and with different family members and all that, like we've talked about?
Yeah.
Paint that.
So preserving and protecting family memories is what I do. And this really dovetails helping your organization as much as I can and people struggling with Alzheimer's, ALS, any memory loss, afflictions is really perfect for me to get involved with, because I like to tell people we're not doing this for generations to come, because they will benefit from it. But right now, people need to know the stories of their families now. And frequently we wait too long for a funeral, a diagnosis, something bad happening, and then we act. But sometimes it's too late because the people know those stories are gone. So I want to get people ahead of it, get ahead of the curve. And what happens is, what I see with families is, once you digitize the movies and the history and the old photos, siblings start talking to each other more. Kids start calling their parents. Kids start calling their grandparents. They want to know more. And it just stimulates so much conversation and really a reconnection and better communication within a family. So I can't get my message out there enough. And luckily I have a platform like you to help me with this, that this is so important to get started as soon as possible.
I think you bring up, anybody who's listening, or not every, maybe a large majority, when you just said it, the time that so many people do this is a funeral. Not only is it too late for the person who passed away, but also, as someone who went through this, the stress of trying to put all of that together in a very stressful situation of a loved one passing away is just a double terrible feeling. Not only is it that you don't have any idea where to start, but then as you and I have talked, I sat there and thought, wow, we should have done this a long time ago, because it would have been really cool for my mom to see this. Right. And now instead it was just mass chaos to try and get this done, to make sure that things look good for the wake there. Right. So that's so when you want to walk through what the business does, just for people who kind of understand what you're saying with, you threw out some a little bit of techie words that I don't necessarily know on the film side and the photo side. So kind of want to talk about, obviously every client is different, every experience is different, but just kind of an idea, if you would, as to what it is that you do when you work with somebody.
So usually every family has what I call the keeper. They seem to get everything handed down to them for no special reason other than they were in the spot at the right time, or the wrong time, if you want to say it, when your parents were cleaning out the basement or the attic. And so that person has boxes and bins full of photo albums, reel-to-reel tapes in the canister still, slides, because slides were a big deal when you went on a trip. You came home and you did a slideshow for your friends and family. And some considered that torture at some point, but you made them watch.
Right.
And they just don't know what to do. And let's face it, there's a lot of guilt in throwing this stuff out. I just spoke to a client who we digitized the albums, and he went to a shredder and handed them all off. And he went to a networking meeting afterwards, and then he walked in and someone goes, "Are you feeling okay?" He goes, I didn't think it would affect me like this. I mean, I've protected everything, but it still is hitting me really hard. I got to go sit down somewhere for a minute, because there is so much passion in this stuff and memories. And but if you can digitize it and it's protected, and you do your 3 backups like I help people with, it is protected. So when the keeper comes to us and says, usually it's my siblings and I want to get this done, or it's parents have said, we want this done, we're downsizing, we don't have room for it, and the kids don't want this stuff, but they want the memories, but they don't want the physical stuff. So we start usually with film, because that's the easiest. It's usually labeled. VHS tapes are labeled. Hopefully they're not taped over like we used to do. You have 30 things written on the outside of the tape. I have come across things being taped over, really important memories that just we can't do anything about. But we've all been there.
This is a walk down memory lane when you talk about taping over. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then the camcorder tape. So that film on that tape, it's degrading every day. There's a chemical reaction that goes on with time. So they are getting to a maximum shelf life. We have to get that stuff digitized. That's not hyperbole at all. I see it every day. The tapes get crackly or they start breaking when we're trying to run them to digitize them. And we have to sit there and repair them, but we try to capture everything. And once the tapes are done, that's kind of quick. And then I tell people, how about we start with the photo albums now? Because those are really kind of like the highlight reels of your trip. And photo albums they could be more scrapbook-like. They could be simple as someone writing, "This was Paris."
Right.
So we can do a full page of that. We have machines that can take a whole page, and it keeps the handwriting and everything. And then I can make it into an electronic flip. So it's like you're actually turning the pages of the photo album. And after that, I tell people, like we've talked about before, you have a ton of photos. You don't necessarily want to keep them all. So I say have a garbage can, have 2 shoe boxes, and a bottle of wine. And you sit there and throw out. Okay, I want this. And you fill up a shoebox, and it's 1,100 photos. Then you have maybe the maybe box if you don't have enough pictures of a certain someone or a certain event, and then you can merge those in too. But you'll be able to get rid of a lot of photos that way, and you'll be able to capture the good ones. Like I personally had a lot of photos of my kids' dances. They look like witness protection photos because they're standing in front of the window and you can't see anything.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't. I'm not a photographer.
Right.
So that's how we do it, and then we compile it into a really usable archive. We can also do family interviews that tell the stories behind the photos and movies, which is a really exciting program we're running out right now. It's really interesting to hear people tell the stories, and then we bring up the photos of this that capture the moment that they're talking about while they're talking about it. And it's so powerful when we lose someone is when you can hear that voice again. It triggers something in the head, and I'm sure some doctor could tell you what the exact term is, but it triggers something in your brain. And my mother had a beautiful Irish brogue. I wish I had more videotape of her because I wanted my kids to be able to hear that. And so that's how we do it. We can go do a few tapes for you to get started. That's usually kind of breaks the seal, if you will, because it is a daunting task. When you I've looked up walls of bins and boxes. Say, where do we start? Okay, this is where we start. Let's get the movies going. While we're doing that, we'll sort through everything else.
So let's, for the younger audience, VHS. Let's go through that. That's
okay.
What that used to be. What we when you say tape over it,
Yes.
There might be people going, how is that ever possible that you could do that? So yes, there was where you put the VHS in and you recorded. You could accidentally record over another show, another movie, or a family event, and then that would be lost forever.
Exactly.
Yes. So and those were
we all did it.
Yes, that's very true. And I'm thinking of the tape on the outside of the VHS that said what it is for everyone, and then all of a sudden you put it in, and whoever taped over it forgot to put that it was something else, and you were stunned as to what you saw.
And you're watching Matlock instead.
Yes, right. There you go. So. So, John, and obviously we're talking about you're doing this, especially for people while they're alive, is the benefit of that. When it comes to Alzheimer's, dementia, ALS, what does it do for a patient like that who's going through this when the family has decided to do this, not yesterday, but did it months and years ago when it comes to the person who's going through this?
So I'd like to just back up a little bit. Like
Absolutely.
When you get the diagnosis, you don't know the time it's going to be, right? You don't know how quickly anything's going to start going downhill. So let's not wait. Don't wait. Get started with something. But once it's done, or you've done it already, and you start encountering this challenge, it can really bring, obviously we're not going to cure anything by looking at your old photos, but it can bring a sense of comfort to the person who's going through it. And the hope is that looking at it daily and telling the stories repetitively, maybe it can delay some of the onset of the more severe side, whatever, of the disease that you have. But it's not just for the person who's sick. It's for the family also. So how many times have you gone over and visited someone who's in this situation, and you're like, are you eating? Did you go out today? And you're like, and you really don't want to have the TV on blaring at you, right? So if you had, we have a video book we supply for clients now, where you just open it up and it plays videos and slideshows. How would you like to be sitting there and, yes, the individual who's sick is benefiting, but the family is also. The family's connecting. The family is telling the stories, sharing the stories, laughing about things, and making it a much better environment for going and visiting. It can be really powerful, and it helps everyone involved, friends, family, and the individual.
And you talk about it, the first part of what you said, making that person feel, we talk about this a lot, different, whether it be memory care professionals who come in here, making the patient feel as comfortable as possible in whatever state they're in, and where the progression is. But no matter what, especially towards the end, comfort is the biggest thing. You want them to be as little pain as possible, most comfortable environment as possible. Obviously, this is one way without them being able to express anything, but what the mind can do when they talk, or see memories that can, you can have that moment where they come back for a split second or 2-3 seconds, that it happens there. And then the very interesting part, what people don't think about is, and so you're in the experience of visiting a loved one. It's a potentially, I hate saying it, a very awkward situation because if they're not speaking, you're not. It's very awkward to continue to ask someone questions, and they're not answering anything. But you want you still want to have a conversation with your loved one. Yeah. But there's nothing more that can be said because they don't have, the ability.
The capacity,
So I know we talked about this a little bit, but before the podcast, how easy do you make it for people to provide you with this information? What does it look like? I know hate using the term full service. I don't like that one.
Yeah.
That's my own personal opinion because that's, yes. But anyways, I digress. What do you do when it comes to this? Because there's...
Well, what I had when I started my company, this is the first thing I wanted to do. I wanted to pick up and deliver. Because frequently, that's a hurdle. And I'm trying to lower every hurdle there is to getting this stuff done. So I'll come and pick it up myself. Hopefully we'll grow more and more, and I'll have people doing it, but I do it right now. I pick it up. It's never out of my hands. And I kind of go through the stuff while I'm there with the people, just looking, because there are times that things are stored inappropriately. And I had this when I was at the agency. You open some stuff up, you're like, that's a weird powder that's dusted over everything. And I want to bring that back to my home office. So I go through things and I look at stuff, and stuff might pop out and say, do you really want this? So I go there and I check it out and I talk to the people, and we set goals about, what do you want out of this? What's the most important stuff? I need somewhat of a family tree as we're going through photos, and we're like, wait a second, who's that? Is that mom? Oh my God, that's her sister. And I find out, oh yeah, she had a twin sister. Okay, thanks. I need that stuff ahead of time, and it's just a conversation.
That might be 50% of the difficulty of you're looking at, no offense, strangers' photos potentially, and you're like, wait, hold on, I got to put this all together. And then the last thing you want to do is put it all together incorrectly. So yes, okay.
Well,
Gotcha.
I have run into that where I've told people, oh my God, your husband looks just like his grandfather. And one was like, I've never seen a picture of his grandfather. Really? I go, oh yeah. I think if you didn't know it was a black and white versus a color, you'd be like, this is the same person. So
Wow.
Sometimes I learn more about the family than the family knows.
Okay, yes.
And I'm like, did you know? I'm like, no. So it's a real conversation. And while we're doing the job, I really try to keep in communication with my clients, let them know where we're at, saying, okay, all the movies are done. Now we're moving on to the photo albums. Especially if I have questions, usually it's a simple text. I'll take a picture. I go, is this mom or her sister? And I try taking everything off the client's plate other than just remembering. Like, oh yeah, that's it. And just those little items that that makes a difference. And that's it. And I try not holding on to things longer than I have to. We try to turn around jobs as quick as we can because I don't want the responsibility to have. These are priceless. And so I take great care in them. And then when we're all done, I deliver a thumb drive, which is formatted for any machine you want to put it in, including smart TVs. And I return everything back sorted physically that matches the electronic file, just in case you want to go back and get those photos. Like you said, sometimes at a wake, you take the photos and you make the boards. If you don't do it electronically, you do it physically. So sometimes it's nice having that old black and white photo in your hand.
True.
So and once it's digital, you can do so much. We can do coffee table books. I did coffee table books of just T-shirts for someone.
That's awesome.
And we can also take pictures of grandma's china pattern. Some people really love that stuff. Or grandpa's favorite chair. We'll just take a picture of it and put it in the archive, and you can go back and see what it was all about.
I like the first part of what you said. You're avoiding or helping them get out of their own way of the excuse of, because it's like a lot of things in life. It's like,
that's why there's trainers, right?
Yeah, I was just saying, when it comes to diet, when it comes to financial planning, the biggest hurdle is yourself. Basically, or the easiest excuse, number one, that people easily have there. And going back to my original question, it's door-to-door service is what you're providing, which obviously when it is being the insurance guy, we talk about this a lot. There's a lot of things that have, priceless value, but God forbid something happens. Yeah. Your insurance isn't going to pay out much for the photo, but to you, it's something that, how can you say it's only worth $1? Like it's worth way more than $1. Well, we can't even put a pricing on it. So that's huge to hear when it comes to that. And one of the notes I took as you were talking is, and we talked a lot about memories so far, which is huge. And I know you've mentioned this too, but like you're pulling them out of the attic or you're pulling them out of the basement and actually bringing them to the main level of the family is how I'm taking this, is what I'm envisioning, because it's buried, it's in the crawl space, it's in the attic, and now it's at the kitchen table, it's in the family room or the kitchen where life happens for people, which is really, really cool. So I know you've got, we talked about Alzheimer's, dementia. ALS is another huge part of this, and memory as a whole. So if you want to talk about, confidentiality a little bit away, client story, interaction. I know we had an ALS person that you had that was a pretty impactful one.
Yeah. I was brought in when John was, he was only able to blink his eyes at this point. And when he would leave, when his wife would leave to go about her day, she left him with 24-hour care. And they lived in a one-bedroom condo because she sold the house, everything, just to take care of him. And she would come home, and he would be, upset, and she could see it in his eyes. And she realized that when she left, the caregivers put on a soap opera that wasn't even in English, and he had to sit there. They had a huge smart TV at the foot of his bed, and a hospital bed. That's all that was in this condominium, this room. And it was heartbreaking for her to come home because she had to go out and get on with her day. There's things she had to do, and she couldn't be there all the time. And she didn't really, she didn't have anything there when I met her, and she said, oh, it's all in storage. I said, okay. So we decided, I just went to storage and loaded up my SUV with everything. And she didn't know what she wanted. She didn't know what I could do for her. And I said, we'll try. And we started with photos from the 1890s. And we were putting stuff in decades, kind of to eat the elephant one bite at a time. And luckily back then, they wrote a lot on the backs of the envelopes.
Right.
And I have a friend in Germany who I had to send some pictures to translate for me. This is kind of, Google Translate wasn't right where it is now, though. And I was like, hey, what's this say?
Things have changed since this story. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Hey, check this out. But there were postcards from World War I on the German side. But it's the same. And that points out and reminds me that we're all kind of living the same life to a point. Like kids in the front lines, scared out of their wits, didn't know if they were ever going to write you or see you again, Mom. Stuff like that. But we were separated by decades, and we didn't have anyone looking over our shoulder saying, oh, yeah, that's cousin whoever, And so we were doing a crossword puzzle without a picture. Not a crossword puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle without a picture. And that's really difficult. So we separated, we separated by decades, and then people started looking like, oh, that's who that is, and you just learn it. And it was a great story of the 20th century. They were immigrants. John's parents escaped the Holocaust, came here, and had a great life. But what was really special is when I brought it back to them, I brought back 16 hours of videos and slideshows. And when I brought it back to them, I asked her to sit down next to John on the bed, and I was showing her how to work the archive. It was really simple. You just take the remote, you point, you click. Really simple. You start something, and you can go out for hours, and it'll run. It's his family history. And even more modern history of him and her. They didn't have any children, but they were together like 40 years. So there was a lot of photos, a lot of film of they traveled a lot. And when I looked back to see how they were doing, I was very excited because I was like just looking at the screen going through. I looked back, and she had slid down and put her head on his chest, and they both had tears in their eyes. And it was such a powerful moment that really touched on, I'm doing more than this is more than just technology and transfer. It can really impact people's lives and families. And that really has spurred me on to try helping as many families as I can.
Wow, that's
it's a pretty powerful story.
Well, it's powerful in so many different ways, but most importantly, going back to that comment of making that person as comfortable as possible, that's all the wife wanted to do was just, he was not in a great place. Let's just be very transparent in terms of body and all that, and where life was going to take him was not a pretty place by any means. But how do you make it that time that is so precious, you can really... I know you got plenty of them, so I want people to understand really what this has done. So if you wouldn't mind sharing at least one or two more client experiences, I know that's a really good one. Yeah. So just don't worry, audience. They're still really good, but that one really hit when we talked about
this. I did a really cool one of my client's dad was a World War II bombardier over Japan. Hero. Great photos from Japan. Actually, photos in the plane with the fighter escorts in the air.
Okay.
So they must have been the military photos that were in the archive.
Wow.
And I realized that, boy, the military goes through a lot of paper back then. And he saved every single scrap of paper, the $20 for shore leave, stuff like that. It's like, but it all got digitized. And,
that's awesome.
And when my client, it was his dad, but his wife was going in deep into genealogy and ancestry. And she was sorting everything. And I went down in her basement, and it was just a wall of bins labeled. For me, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. Everything's labeled in order. And So I like I said before, I was opening all the bins just to go through things, and his uniform, his dagger that was etched Tokyo, and then I saw this little box, a Tupperware of envelopes, and I opened it, and all the envelopes were squeezed in there, lined up. And I recognized them because my mom used to write back to Ireland on this type of paper, this tissue-y paper, the airmail.
Okay.
And it was when Lenny had come back from World War II. His plan was to go back and finish his degree at Illinois College in Central Illinois. And in the few months he had at home before he went back to school, he met a girl in Chicago, Dolores. And he was quite smitten with her. So when he went back to school, he wrote her every single day they were apart, sometimes twice a day. And she saved every letter, and he married her.
Wow.
So it's a story of their courtship, early on, saying stuff like, oh, no, I'm not upset you went to that dance with someone. We just started talking. But the whole progression of the love story is just so heartwarming. And what I really like about it is now, so he has grandkids who are his kids are now late 20s. And they're starting to, find their significant others. And then they can go back and read how Grandma and Grandpa started their family. And it's just the fact that she saved every single letter.
Well, and I'm looking at it in today's day and age. You had to wait now we're talking, how long did we have to wait to get a response or the initial letter? And then I hope you're not mad. We're on pins and needles for potentially a week to get an answer as to whether or not we're mad. And in the world we live in today, if you don't respond to this text message within the next 32 seconds, we're in a fight here. We got a problem. It was very different.
And I better not see those 3 dots flashing.
I know. And don't be the person who leaves on your read receipts and then you don't respond because then you really must not care. But wow, that's it's wild.
There were over 3,000 pages of of letters that we scanned, and we usually don't do envelopes because they're difficult to go through the scanner. You have to be very careful. But why are we doing? It's the same address on every single letter. I said, well, open the flap, and on the flap he would write a love note or draw a picture.
On the flap of the envelope.
On the flap of the envelope. Okay, now we got to do all the envelopes.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
So stuff like, I'm going to set your heart afire.
Okay.
With my everlasting love. He was quite poetic. He really liked to write. And besides that story, there were letters of him and his brother, who was a tank commander in Europe.
Okay.
Going back and forth. And also, he wrote a letter back to his college professor detailing a firsthand account of when we firebombed Tokyo. And it was the first time napalm was ever used in war. And he said at 10,000 feet, he could feel the heat on his seat.
Wow.
And none of them thought they were going to come back because prior to that, they were making bombing runs at like 30,000 feet, and they weren't hitting anything. And when they did this one, they had made the announcement, you're going to be between 5,000 and 10,000 feet. Tokyo is one of the most highly fortified cities in the world at the time. And, they say there's no atheists in foxholes. He said there's no atheists in that meeting. They were terrified.
Wow.
But they all went up and did their job. So it was a harrowing account. Reading it like firsthand account is pretty powerful. So
well, and I hate to keep saying it, but the way technology's changed and all that, and how even in today's day and age, when we see how great the photo or the video is, and you can see everything, and it's still not amazing. You look at what's going on now, the unclassified, and that the video isn't perfect.
Right.
So, and we've got a ridiculous technology now. So to imagine what what technology they had or didn't have to be able to do that is truly impressive. And then the fact that you get to put it in, obviously it doesn't look like it's in 4K or anything like that, but it's in a way that's really, really, really cool. They let it live on for forever, which is what this, as I'm listening to you tell these stories, I'm just thinking about the amount of, time that you can provide to this generation, the next generation, and it just can kind of keep building. The story doesn't end, but you got to start somewhere, which I think is one of the biggest things I've taken from what you said. If you don't, you're going to be the person who says, man, we should have done this, and we should have done this.
Regret.
Yes, 100%.
And that's a good segue into, I kind of coined the phrase, a living digital archive, because once you do all the old stuff, then we can take your phones and stuff. About half of the stuff you have on your phone is a duplicate photo. We can put those into the archive, and then the future generations should keep adding to it. So it's going to be living through time.
That's awesome.
And keep getting added to. And that was a friend of mine, one of my clients who was downsizing. Their kids were all performers.
Okay.
And Jack had videotaped every single performance, or 186 tapes.
Oh, my.
And so they gave them, I'll wrap it up real quick, but they gave each kid a thumb drive for Christmas, and they went home and they started adding their kids' stuff to it.
That's awesome.
So it all comes full circle.
That's fantastic. One of the things I want to ask you about, because we briefly hit on it, when we can add some narration to it, if you got an example or just kind of what that does, I think that sounds really cool to have. I mean, can we have multiple family members kind of tell the story? How does that work for you guys? What have you done?
So right now we are rolling that out, and we've done an interview with actually the daughter of the World War II bombardier pilot.
Okay.
And her brother is going to be done Friday.
Okay.
And then I'm actually doing my own family.
Okay.
I'm the youngest of 7, and my parents had like 6 kids in 8 years. And then 4 years later, I came along. And I'm going to have 3 of my sisters on camera reminiscing and telling the stories, the most important stories. Like, my mom was an Irish immigrant. I don't know, I'm the youngest, so I don't know. I wasn't around for all those stories. And like I said, she passed away when I was only 33. So I didn't get that. And they actually went back to Ireland with her in the 70s, and I had to stay home with my cousins. So
too young to bring him with.
Too young. I was just too young to bring with. So I'm really excited, and we camped a lot as a family.
Okay.
I don't remember it because I was so young.
Totally.
But we hauled a camper all over the country. We had 7 kids. My dad worked for People's Gas downtown.
We're not flying. Yes.
No, we ain't flying.
That's it.
That would be 4 hotel rooms.
Yeah, that's right.
So I really look forward to. I'm just going to let them go, and I'm going to be off camera, asking prompts and stuff. Just
that's awesome.
Try to facilitate their reminiscing. And so the next gen, there's 19 grandkids, and now there's 24 great-grandchildren of my parents. So these stories need to be told.
Really cool that you get to integrate what your business is and bring it to your family, and obviously be able to provide them with a lasting memory, but also, as you're doing it this way, a chance for them to tell a story. It's not just, it's more than just the photos, or that they get to talk about the experience.
I really felt like that was a missing piece for my business.
It's awesome.
Because I was giving back the thumb drive. I'm like, I want to know the stories behind this. Whatever happened to them?
Well, and as the story goes on, too, and the next generation gets it, and now they're doing the game that you were doing, going, which person is that? Is that the same person? Is that? You tell the story, does something completely different, and allows that memory to. Obviously, it still lives on, but in a completely different format there. So, John, this is really, really impressive. What you've grown this to, and what you're going to continue to do with it there. As we get close to wrapping up here, any other information that you want to share with our audience, whether it be your personal opinion, business-wise, the floor is yours.
One thing, like we've kind of keep touching on, is just get started. We're not promised what's going to happen tomorrow. Get started. There is a clock ticking about these, photos and film. It's decaying. I see it every day. Things are fading. You look at those slides and they're yellow. Right now, our software is doing great jobs bringing stuff back. Not any of the weird AI stuff where not suddenly the picture is moving. I think that's kind of creepy. But
Yes.
But just making the picture sharp. And I tell you, those old black and white weddings where they're throwing the rice, those pictures come out digitally so cool looking.
Really?
They're gorgeous.
Okay.
But get started. Whatever you have, get started as quick as possible. And we're gonna throw stuff in the show notes. I have 5 questions for if anyone wants to download them about. You can reflect yourself about your family history and your memories, or share it with your family and just start getting things out. And then I also have another document we'll put in. It's like 5 steps to getting started on your own. What do you got to do? Get it together, machines you'll need, if stuff like that, to help people. Like we said, just get started. And those are a couple of resources. My website, thefamilyalbumcompany.com, is a resource to see my work. And I do as much speaking and podcast appearances as possible to bring people awareness about the power of our family memories and leaving a legacy for years to come.
And I think what you said from the outset, get started is huge because people may not think about it especially with what you do. And I can tell you, having people in your chair that I've had before on the financial planning side and on the will and estate planning attorneys that have been in here, and it's the same exact statement in 3 completely different industries, from financial to preserving photos and memories and the estate planning side. It's get started. The sooner you do it, the sooner you're going to put yourself in a better position for yourself and your family. Is really what that does there. And if you don't, that's where the 3 industries I just mentioned, when at the end is there, it's chaos. It really is. I mean, there's nothing worse than not having the financial plan done, or not having the will and the trust set up. There's nothing worse than when it comes time for a funeral, and it's mass chaos because you're searching every which nook and cranny, but you're doing this well in advance, not just to plan for that funeral or that wake. It's so that the family can take this forever and ever. So that's huge. So, John, thank you again for being here. John already mentioned it. If you want to find out more information about John and the company, it is thefamilyalbumcompany.com. So please don't hesitate to check that out. John's a great resource. I know he will point you in the right direction and let you know what he can do for you or can't do for you, depending on what your situation is. Right. But there's a lot more he can do. And when you're talking about World War II photos, you can do a lot there. So, and as always, feel free to check out LMJ's on our website, on our social medias. We're always more than willing to help you. And if you want to be pointed in John's direction, he didn't take down the website, again, you can reach out to us on any of our socials and we'd be happy to connect you with John. John, thank you again for your time. Man. It's really cool. And I love hearing what you're doing because it really hits home with me. And I can promise you that there are many people that it's going to hit home with when they listen to this. So thank you again.
Thanks.
This is a monthly podcast. So I would love to connect with people in a variety of spaces, whether it's Alzheimer's, dementia, financial, preserving memories. There are so many different places that we can draw from and educate the community on. So if you know anyone, you or someone you know, please do not hesitate to reach out to me directly, as I would love to have them sit here in John's seat and really tell the story that they have to tell. So thank you for joining us today on Remembering Together, the LMJ's Lost Souls podcast. I know the information today shared was not only beneficial and impactful, but are going to leave a lasting feeling on many people who are viewing or listening to this. So, as always, love your family, love your friends, and remember to cherish the time you spend with the ones you love, because at the end of the day, all we have is memories. Thank you.